And we are live. Welcome to another edition of DT Live. Hope everybody's doing well today. I'm still trying to get things set up here. All right, let's see how we're looking. The network connection looks okay. Hopefully we're not buffering. Usually I have pretty good internet, but you never know when you start live streaming. How is the audio for those of you hanging out in the YouTube chat? Give me a yay or a nay on the audio. All right. Let's check out the YouTube chat. We got Easy, HT Olson, Didi, Linux for Life, right? Leviticus is also in the chat. Yeah, everybody says good on the audio. Great. And we got Horatio. Hope I pronounced that right. Arabic, Bob Grimes. Hope everybody's doing well. Audio. Yep, good audio. Okay. We do not want any issues with Pulse Audio today. Well, I haven't had any Pulse Audio issues lately, but I haven't done a live stream lately either, so seems like they always crop up when you go live. It never happens when you're doing pre-recorded content. And just getting here a few minutes before the stream. So, getting my stuff together. I did pick up a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Hopefully that can show up on the camera. Haven't had a Pale Ale in a while. Been drinking a lot of lighter style beers lately, but I like a nice hoppy beer every now and then. The Sierra Nevada beers are quite hoppy. All right. Yeah, good Monday to you. Absolutely. For those of you in the U.S., of course, today is a federal holiday. Today is President's Day, which is an interesting holiday. Hasn't been an official holiday that long, actually. Just a couple of decades. Really, when I was a kid, like in elementary school, we didn't have President's Day. We actually celebrated a couple of different presidents' birthday. There was Lincoln's birthday on February 12th, and Washington's birthday was later in the month. I want to say the 20th or the 21st of February. And then they kind of got condensed into just one holiday, President's Day, because why just celebrate Washington and Lincoln? Celebrate all the presidents, because many of them did good things. Because you had some states, especially, that their President's Day didn't necessarily revolve around Washington or Lincoln. Because some states have had several presidents elected. States like Massachusetts, for example, their President's Day, they celebrated people like John F. Kennedy and, the various other presidents that were elected from their state. There's been a lot of presidents elected from the state of Virginia, and then historically, why just Washington and Lincoln, especially Thomas Jefferson, our third president, was very instrumental in the birth of this country. So President's Day also revolved around Thomas Jefferson at one point. And some states still celebrate Thomas Jefferson on President's Day, but eventually the federal government just made President's Day instead of trying to pick and choose which presidents we were celebrating on that day. All right, back to the YouTube chat for a second. Yeah, so everybody was good on the audio. Yeah, let's get the show rolling. Yeah, I got a few things we're going to discuss today. Yeah. Don't drink an RM. Yeah, definitely. You don't want to drink a Pale Ale and then start doing a lot of RM RFing in the terminal. You're going to make mistakes, guys. Don't drink and DD either. So, let's see. Hey, DT, what's your opinions on Pine Phone and Linux phones in general? I haven't used any of them, so can't really give you any firsthand opinion. Obviously, I would like to see some of these things actually take off, but it's been tried so many times in the past. A real Linux phone, and none of them have really got much attention. None of them really caught fire. So, do I have much hope that any of these phones will be successful? No, not at all, because I've seen it a dozen times in the past. Somebody creates a new Linux phone, it doesn't do well. So, and we've had the Tizen and the WebOS. You had the Ubuntu Touch. I mean, there's been dozens of these things in the past, and none of them have succeeded. None of them sold. So, we would like to think people would go out and buy these devices, but it doesn't seem like the general public, the masses, are not that interested. You know, they want Android and iOS, you know, on their mobile devices. That's what they want. They want the App Store. So, what phone do I use? Somebody was asking in the chat. I use a Samsung Galaxy 10. Just because the Samsung phones, as far as the hardware, they're really good. They hold up well, especially. So, that's why I like to stick with the Samsung phones. They got good microphones. They got good cameras, of course, if you were interested in doing something on your phone, which I've said before in videos that, you know, if you're wanting to start a YouTube channel or you want to make 1 or 2 videos on YouTube, some people are like, how do I make a video on YouTube? Well, if you got a pretty decent phone, if you got one of the Samsung phones or one of the iPhones, you know, the cameras on those phones are pretty good. And the microphones on those phones are pretty good. The microphones on these phones are usually better than the microphones that are built into your monitors or to your laptops. Matter of fact, they're always better than those devices. Never use the built-in microphones on a laptop. They're just horrid. Yeah, should we celebrate Stallman or Torvalds in the future? Yeah. We'd have to call it GNU/Linux Day, right? I don't hate that idea, though. I don't hate that idea. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we want to discuss today. I jotted down some things we might talk about. Maybe we'll talk about Linux. Maybe we'll talk about other things. I'm not sure. But one of the things I wanted to get out of the way, because I know folks will mention it, is yes, we did cross 50,000 subs today, or yesterday. I wasn't paying that close attention, but we got a few folks that mentioned that. So a bit of a milestone on the channel. So, and I also want to address some comments. Some of you guys have been leaving some interesting comments on some of the videos recently. I jotted a few of the interesting questions and comments that I wanted to cover today. Thanks. Yeah, Dee Dee says congrats on the 50K. Yeah, we got here. Like I said, probably yesterday. I wasn't really paying that close attention. Actually, typically, as far as subscribers, I don't pay that much attention to it, but you know, I typically get about the same amount of subscribers every day. My videos don't really fluctuate wildly as far as views and subscribers. Usually I can set a watch to it. I can tell you where I'm going to be a month from now as far as views and subscribers. But this month we had a bit of an uptick in both views and subscribers. So I got here a little quicker than I thought, because I thought it would be next weekend when I got to the 50K mark. And I was like, well, I'll do something next weekend, but we got there a little quicker than I thought. So I thought I'd mention it on today's live stream. Yeah, can I make a video about SE Linux? Possibly. I've got so many videos lined up to make. I've got a few things in the works actually for the next couple weeks. I've got some topics I really want to discuss. So it's not going to be anytime soon if I do get to SE Linux. So don't hold me to that. Yes, matter of fact, one of the comments I was going to address is Dee Dee's asking about, is this a new microphone? Of course, you guys have noticed the last 2 or 3 videos, I do have a new microphone. So this is the RE27ND. And for those of you asking, where is the blue baby bottle? And I've still got the blue baby bottle. It's a very nice mic. I'm not getting rid of the blue baby bottle either. Different kinds of mics though. So this is an Electro Voice, is the company that makes this. Electro Voice. These are dynamic microphones. So they make 3 really popular microphones for dynamic microphones for broadcasting and things like that. They make the RE320, which I think is around $300 or so. Really nice microphone for the price. And there's the RE20 that's a little more expensive. It's like $400. And then there's the RE27ND. And this thing is a bit more expensive. I paid $500 for the microphone, and then almost another $100 for the mount, which is this big contraption with all of this in it. But these are very popular dynamic microphones. Where, of course, the blue microphones, pretty much all the blue microphones, but the baby bottle that I was using especially, is a dynamic microphone. And for those of you that are not familiar with microphones, the dynamic microphones are more sensitive. So if you are in a well-treated room, dynamic microphones are fantastic. I really like the sound on that. It had a little brighter sound, and I will say I really liked how instrumental recordings sounded on that mic. I liked the way the trombone sounded, although I never shared any recordings of me playing the trombone with the blue baby bottle with you guys. The recording I made the other day, me playing the alto recorder, I really liked the way that sounded. This microphone's got a little bit different kind of tone to it, but again, this is a dynamic mic, so where that's a condenser mic. The blue baby bottles are condenser mics. Yeah, so the condenser mics are really good, and I would stick to it if I was in a place with no noise. And actually, I don't get much noise bleeding through on that microphone when I use it, and I may still use that microphone occasionally. I don't know. But if you want to really get rid of background noise, you kind of have to use a dynamic mic. You see, and that's why you've probably recognized kind of like the chassis of this microphone. It's a pretty popular brand, these Electro Voice microphones, the RE320, the RE20, and the RE27. You see them a lot. Sportscasters, anybody doing any kind of broadcast work. It's because you can be in a noisy environment, and all that crazy background noise doesn't really bleed through the mic. You might get some of it if you're in a really loud environment, but it's not crazy. Where if you used a condenser mic, it would just be outrageous. Yeah, do condenser mics have a higher input gain than the dynamic mics? Your snowball is quiet. Okay, I haven't had the snowball. I had the Blue Yeti, and the Blue Yeti was live. Like, even with the gain all the way down, that thing would pick up some noise. If you turn the gain up about halfway, you would hear cars going by on the street outside. You would hear people yelling in the house across the street. That's how crazy those blue condenser mics are. I mean, you can really pick up a lot of noise with those things. The condenser mics, you do have to have phantom power to power these. That's another consideration, where the dynamic microphones, typically they don't require phantom power. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Condenser mics typically require less gain. Dynamic mics, typically you're going to have to crank that sucker up. Back to the chat for a second. Yeah, the blue baby bottle has more analog touch to it. Yeah, definitely a different kind of sound. And what made me go with the RE27, because I was, the Electro Voice microphones are very popular in the broadcast industry. I was like, if I'm going to buy a dynamic mic, I'm going to buy one of the Electro Voice mics. And you hear a lot of people using these mics. And the 320, the RE320, which is the one that's around $300, I kind of like the sound of that one. When I heard people speaking into it, it, was a little brighter, not as bassy, not as boomy. The $400 model, which I think is probably the most popular one they sell. To me, when I hear people speaking into that one, it's really bassy, really boomy, sometimes really muddy. And I didn't particularly care for the sound of that mic on a lot of the people, I was checking out in videos and things, speaking into that mic. The people that had the RE27, though, I noticed, kind of like the RE320, it's a little brighter, not as heavy on the bass, because I didn't want anything real bassy. Because I've got kind of a deep voice anyway, and if you start cranking up the bass, it's just going to be way too boomy. If you're listening, on headphones or, earbuds or something, it's just going to be way too boomy. On speakers, you may not notice it. Yeah, the RTFM mug is cool. Yeah, you guys really like my mug. It's actually two-sided. I'm sure you guys have noticed this. I turn it around every now and then, but I've got the, by the way, I use Arch on one side, and then why don't you RTFM on the other side? So, yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, so the model mic is the RE27ND. So RE27ND by Electro Voice. The ND stands for neodymium. I don't know exactly why, but I guess it uses neodymium in the construction in some way. So it's the RE27ND. Let's see. Yeah, the 320 is a great mic. The videos I've seen people speaking into the 320, I actually was pretty impressed with the 320. I thought it sounded better than the RE20, which is a more expensive mic. The interesting thing about this mic, too, is it's got some switches on the back of it. It's got 3 different switches, roll-offs, for rolling off the bass, rolling off mid to bass, and then rolling off the highs. I didn't play with any of the switches. Matter of fact, I'm not doing much with this microphone. I turned the gain up on my preamp. Now, because I have a preamp, I don't have to turn the gain up like crazy high. Well, if you don't have a good preamp, again, this is going to require some gain. I turn my gain up about halfway on my preamp. Other than that, I'm doing, a little compression, a little bit of a noise gate, just to get rid of some of the noise. And on my EQ, there were a couple of problem frequencies. I think I dropped it in the 400 to 500 hertz range because it was just a little muddy. Some stuff wasn't clear. And then there was one of the high frequencies that actually introduced a bit of noise. So I dropped all that. But really, it was just a couple of, if you see the EQ back here, that line that's just got a couple of things dropped, those were the frequencies that, they were introducing some crud that I didn't really like. Other than that, well, not doing much with this as far as, the videos that I've produced with this mic, the last 2 or 3 videos, I didn't do any post-processing. It was just all done with that hardware back there. Yeah, you need a cloud lifter in between. I shouldn't need any more gain, though. I've got that Nady preamp that I'm using. So I've got plenty of gain. And I've only turned the gain up about halfway on this mic, and it's more than enough gain. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So what's your favorite desktop environment? All right. None of them. Okay. I don't have a favorite. I don't use desktop environments. That's another thing we're going to discuss is, I probably am going to go over some really common questions that I get. Those of you that have been subscribed to the channel are going to know the answers to all this stuff, but I want to cover it because we've gotten a lot of new subscribers, especially in the last 2 months. Probably got like 6,000 or 7,000 new subscribers just in the last couple of months. So there's a lot more new people here. Haven't been following the channel from the beginning. So they're asking me a lot about what I use. So I do want to address some of that. So one of the things people often ask me here, the comments especially, I'm looking through my YouTube comments the last couple of days, and I've had several people ask, hey man, what is that desktop environment you're running in that video? All right, so if you're watching any of my recent videos, it was probably Qtile. The window manager is called Qtile. It is a tiling window manager written in Python. Now, I don't log into the same window manager every single day because today I'm using Xmonad, a tiling window manager written in Haskell. So that's typically what you've been seeing the last 2 or 3 months on the channel. You've probably seen me in either Qtile or in Xmonad. Now, if you go back and check some of my older videos, there's no telling what window manager I might be using in those videos because I've done so many videos on so many different window managers, you know. But people, you know, again, I get new people asking, what's my favorite desktop environment or window manager? I don't have a favorite. Like I said, I log into a different one every so often. On this machine, I've got i3, BSPWM, Awesome, Herbstluft, Xmonad, Qtile. OpenBox is also on here. And a couple of days ago, I installed both Window Maker and Spectre WM, which I put up a little community post the other day. Let me pull up my browser here. You guys probably saw where I posted this under the community tab for my YouTube channel. I was like, I feel like trying out some new window managers. One of them is a floating window manager, Window Maker, and one of them is a tiling window manager, Spectre WM. Which would you guys want me to look at first? I'm going to look at both of them. And it's pretty much split. So, Window Maker's 24%, Spectre WM's 25%. Then I also threw in there anything more than TTY is bloat, and about half of you apparently want to see me live in TTY. Obviously, I can't do anything on the YouTube channel just living in TTY because without a graphical environment, I can't stream, I can't record, I have to have GIMP to do my thumbnails, so even if I tried to live in TTY, I couldn't. I would still have to spend several hours a day in a graphical environment just because of the YouTube channel. But I could, if I didn't do the YouTube channel, yeah, I could be comfortable in TTY most of the time, actually. Use your phone to use YouTube. Is that for me? I don't use my phone for much of anything, actually. Making phone calls, sending texts. I'm not one of those people that like watch Netflix on my phone and do gaming on my phone. I'm so old school. I use my phone to make phone calls. Thanks for the super chat there. That was DC Pagan. All right. Really appreciate that. What are your thoughts on Sway and Wayland? Sway is basically an i3 clone. i3 is okay. It's not my favorite window manager. Wayland is not quite ready. So I could probably get by in Sway and Wayland, maybe, because I have an AMD card. If you have an NVIDIA card, Wayland's not an option. But because I do YouTube, you know, I do a lot of recording and things. I'm not interested in even attempting to try to get by with Wayland. And what would be the point? So I could use Sway. I can tell you, it's an okay window manager. I'm sure I'd be fine with it, but it's not something that would just, you know, blow my skirt up, right? It's like, you guys really have been asking about Sway. Hey, man, you need to take a look at Sway. I mean, Sway's an i3 clone. I've done videos about i3. It's the same. I mean, other than the fact that it uses Wayland, but what am I going to show you, you know, as far as Xorg versus Wayland? I'm not going to do, I can't really get into that. So I'd basically just be showing you an i3 clone. Have I ever heard of Stow for dot file management? Yes, I have. If possible, I want you to make a video on it. Maybe. I don't use Stow, but I know what it is. Yeah, it's a good new program, actually, isn't it? I've looked into it before in years past, trying to figure out exactly what I want to do as far as my dot files. In the end, I don't bother with any of those kind of dot file manager kind of scripts. It's easy enough just to manage them yourself, really, with Git. Keep it techie. How you doing, Josh? He's asking, hey, DT, do you have any concerns about YouTube guidelines while syncing to LBRY? Not especially. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of channels on YouTube that are syncing their content, not just to LBRY, but to other places as well. I mean, what are they going to do? Take my channel down? I mean, they're making money off of me, right? They're serving ads on my videos, and I get a lot of views. So what they would be hurting themselves if they took all these channels down that were syncing somewhere else. I think I'd have to go back and check out the YouTube guidelines, but I think they're worried about people maybe posting content somewhere else and then posting it to YouTube, and maybe they don't have the rights to that content. That sort of, maybe going in the other direction especially. I don't know. But YouTube doesn't seem that interested in people just mirroring their content, on other platforms. Now, they may not care for it right now is because there's no real viable competitor to YouTube right now. I mean, it's not like you're going to get a ton of views on LBRY or BitChute or anything like that. The other reason I don't think they would, just start taking people down over that is these videos I'm putting on my YouTube channel. They're my videos. I recorded them. I mean, I own them. Matter of fact, I already got them. I post my own videos on my website, and I'm not talking about YouTube embedded videos. I host them myself. Hell, that's my content. So I'm going to do what I want with it. So I think YouTube would have some issues if they wanted to just start taking channels down because their content was somewhere else. Plus, who's to stop on some of these different platforms? Who's to stop somebody that doesn't actually have the rights to your videos from downloading it and then posting it? Because people do that. People do that on YouTube. People steal videos and then post it themselves to game the system. You got a lot of those black hat folks out there that are just trying to make a quick buck any way they can. And you would get people tripped up, that have done nothing wrong at all if you started going down that road. So I don't see that as something to worry about, honestly. Yeah, did you look into SpaceMax versus Doom Emacs? Of course. Okay, I'm using Doom Emacs. Yeah, and the question is, have I looked at SpaceMax? Yes, I did. I think I mentioned it in the first video I did on Doom Emacs that I looked at both of them initially. Went with Doom Emacs. Looked cleaner, easier to config, and didn't seem as bloated as SpaceMax. SpaceMax has a lot going on in it, more so than Doom Emacs. A little more sensible as far as all the plugins that are installed. Nothing crazy installed, nothing I wouldn't use. Maybe there were one or two plugins I think enabled that maybe I disabled. But for the most part, Doom Emacs out of the box was really good. Really like what they're doing. Could you do a Compton config video? I have done a video on Compton. That was from Matthew. Actually, I was going to discuss Compton here in just a second. So let me get into some stuff because I mentioned you guys have been asking some questions on the channel. And one of the questions you guys had a question from somebody the other day about Compton. Or actually, it was not about Compton. They didn't mention Compton. They mentioned Alacrity, which is the terminal emulator I did a video on a couple of weeks back. And a lot of you guys have switched to Alacrity, and you guys are loving Alacrity. I'm loving it. But one of the folks said, hey, You know, when I run C Matrix or Ranger or whatever in Alacrity, you know, my transparent background goes away. So, you know, I did a C Matrix. You know, it's no longer transparent. All right, guys. So, here is the fix to this. If the program you're trying to run inside Alacrity has a config file, you may be able to play with that config file for the background color if it allows you to change the background color to like a default background color so it becomes transparent. If you don't have that option, honestly, what I would do is I would just edit my Compton config. So let me open this up here in Doom Emacs. And then what I would do is I'm just going to, well, let me zoom in so you guys can see what's going on here. Let me copy that line right there where it says I'm doing 95% transparency on class G Emacs. Basically, any window that's classified as Emacs, give it 95% opacity. I'm going to do a YY to copy that line, P to paste to make a new line here. And then I'm going to do Alacrity here. And we're just going to write and quit that. Now, if you already set opacity in the Alacrity config, I would set that back to 100%. Since we set it to 95% in Compton, Compton will take care of our transparency. And then what I could do is in D menu, I'm going to kill all Compton. Well, if I can type. And then I'm going to restart Compton. Just run Compton. And now Alacrity has its transparency, of course. But now when I run C Matrix is transparent. So that was a question I had just got a couple of hours ago, actually. Somebody on the channel said, hey man, I like C Matrix, but it doesn't work with my transparent terminal. There's your fix. All right. I got sidetracked there. Yeah, DT needs to run for office. I've thought about it. I think we need DT in office. Pushing for free software, of course, right? Yeah. Present Arms is in the chat. It says, hello, DT. How you doing, Allie? Good to see you. Let's see. I wish I could watch more, but duty calls, says Asasi 007. Oh. Well, that sucks, but hey, man, do what you got to do. If you're on the clock, you need to get back to work. Why are you watching YouTube anyway? Some other comments. So that took care of the C Matrix transparency. By the way, C Matrix. People keep asking me about the program that's always run. Again, we got a lot of new folks on the channel. C Matrix is what I'm often running on that laptop behind me. That laptop is my C Matrix server. So if I'm not running C Matrix, I'm probably running a program called Unimatrix, which is a similar program, slightly different style, a little slower. Of course, I can speed up some of the settings on both C Matrix and Unimatrix. See if I can quit that. C Matrix, I think -A, B is one I often use. I think the A does the asynchronous scrolling. Oh, it looks pretty synchronous there. That doesn't look all that asynchronous. I'd have to check the flags. Anyway, C Matrix is that program. Again, I've been getting a lot of questions about that. If you want to check out a different program, check out Unimatrix. All right. Yeah, so Telsaurus says C Matrix is tacky in the best way possible. Absolutely. Yeah, Bob says DT for Louisiana Senate. Yeah, I probably could get elected. Actually, politics down here is pretty crooked. They tried to screw me over in some way. I like Alacrity, but it doesn't support images using W3M. Well, I don't use W3M, so I don't know about that. I don't have it installed. But it supports images. And there's my wallpaper directory in VIFM, you know, and got image previews. Those image previews are handled by a Python library called LBRY. I've done videos on LBRY and VIFM. But I'm pretty sure I don't have W3M installed. Let's see. Yeah, well, problem is that was a directory. Let me do something else. Let's go to distrowatch.com. All right, so I do have it installed. I don't see any images, but that's fine for me. To be honest, I don't typically use images in my text-based web browser because, I mean, the point of the text-based web browser is to just view text, is to get rid of all of the unnecessary crud, which are the images. If you need to see images, you know, if you're, which most of the time you don't need the images on the web pages, typically you just need the text anyway. But if you really needed the images, like you went to an image board, for example, you know, maybe you're downloading wallpapers or something, then why are you in W3M or links or anything like that anyway? Open up Firefox. You know, obviously, if you have to watch video, you shouldn't be in a text-based browser. So, yeah, Slackware is a fine distro. I agree, Allie. I don't run it, but I would agree it's a fine distro. All right. And some of the other things you guys have been asking me about as far as questions and comments from the channel. So I had somebody, and I've had this more than once, but somebody just the other day, so I wrote it down. Hey man, can you do a video reviewing Hackintosh and how Hackintosh can get macOS users off of macOS and onto Hackintosh? No. I will never do anything with Hackintosh on the channel. For one thing, YouTube would have a serious problem you covering Hackintosh. They would end up striking my channel and taking the video down. I'd be wasting my time even covering it. Plus, why am I trying to get people on Hackintosh? I want people to move away from macOS and from Windows, but I don't want them to move to Hackintosh. That's not solving the problem. No, we want them to move to GNU/Linux. Or one of the BSDs, you know, or a real free operating system where they can run, you know, all the free software alternatives. We want to get them off the proprietary tit, right? We're not. Yeah. Not to mention the terrible stability issues. Yeah, and Hackintosh is like it wouldn't be easy to set up a Hackintosh. Installing Linux is 1,000 times easier than trying to get Hackintosh to work. Why would you even bother with Hackintosh? It makes no sense to even fool with it. Like if you have to run software that only runs on Mac OS, you need to own a Mac and run Mac. I mean, that's if you don't want to run Mac OS or Mac OS only software, switch to Linux, you know. You're trying to have this weird middle ground with Hackintosh that's I don't think solves the problem. I think that's the worst option of the three. I think you would actually be better staying on Mac OS than actually switching to Hackintosh. So I've had people ask about that. We're never going to cover that on the channel. Not just because of my opinions on it, but again, the video would get taken down. I mean, I would waste hours and hours of recording and editing, and then nobody would ever see that video because YouTube would delete it, and then they would give my channel a strike. Yeah, learn Linux. Yeah, your webcam quality is sweet. Yeah, it's the same camera I've had for a couple of years now, about a year and a half now. This is the Panasonic Lumix G7. It's about a $600 camera. The lens I'm using is a pretty expensive lens. It's like a $200 lens. But yeah, I love this camera. I probably could get something better, you know. People sometimes ask me, hey, why don't you do 4K or something like that. Ooh, wow, the price involved in something like that. 1080p is just fine, right? For YouTube, you don't need 4K. Not for what I do. All right, yeah, Hackintosh is not a distro. Yeah, many programs do not support Uberzug, like NeoFetch, which use W3M as a backend to display images. Well, you probably just, if you have to have those W3 images in W3M and NeoFetch, then you have to use a different terminal emulator. I don't use any of that stuff. I mean, I don't have images in I don't actually have NeoFetch. It's installed, but I don't really use it. I sometimes use it just to demonstrate what NeoFetch is, but if I pull up a terminal, you see I don't actually run NeoFetch. But it is here, but no images. But yeah, if you have to have W3M and with images, then if it's not working with Alacrity, for one thing, I would open up an issue over at GitHub with the Alacrity folks. They may have a solution for you. I don't know it, though. But if they don't have a solution for it, then just use one of the other 100 terminal emulators that are probably in your distro's repositories. There's so many of them, and all of them are good. I mean, if I wasn't using Alacrity, I'd be just fine using ST, or Termite, or URXVT, or Xterm, just to name 5. So, and I'm sure there's several others that are also really good terminal emulators. DT, did you move back to Qtile? Are you still playing with i3? I barely played with i3. The videos I did on i3 almost 2 years ago, I used i3 for about a month, during the obscure window manager project, but I didn't live in i3 that long. I didn't particularly care for it. It's not my kind of tiling window manager. But yeah, I lived in Qtile a lot in the past 2 or 3 months. Today I'm in Xmonad, though. This is Xmonad. Pull up my Xmonad config. You guys know Xmonad, written in Haskell. See some of what's going on with my config. Alacrity is my default terminal. The Emacs client, of course, is the default text editor. I've got all my key bindings, a lot of key bindings set in Xmonad. I've used Xmonad for years and years, at least 10 years or more. I've been an Xmonad user, so I've had this config, been working on it for a long time. All right. See, yeah, thumbs up the video, says Leviticus. Yeah, I agree. I'm actually not previewing the stream, but yeah, there's more than 200 of you guys watching and only 41 thumbs ups and 4 thumbs down. Wow. Whether you want a thumbs up or thumbs down the video, at least thumb something. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. It's just interaction, yeah. Doesn't matter if 1,000 of you guys thumbs down a video. That's better if you're not interested at all. So help. It really does help. Comments also help. Of course, you can't comment, obviously, until the stream is over. But on the pre-recorded stuff, you guys that comment on the videos, that helps too. Not to mention it helps the community, because a lot of the videos I do, like the tutorial kind of videos, a lot of times you guys leave better information in the comments than what I put on video. I mean, there's some real knowledge being dropped in the YouTube comments. So I really want to thank you guys, especially that comment on a regular basis and share your knowledge with the community. You guys, you do a real service. Don't think you don't. There are more ways to support the free and open source communities than just developing software. Support obviously is a big thing. Education, translations, so many things you can do. Artwork. Yeah, there are 86 thumbs up. Again, I'm not previewing the stream, but yeah, it's like 89 right now. All right. Way to go, guys. All right, back to some of the other questions I've been getting a little bit on the channel. I want to knock out some of these because some of these questions I may have responded to you guys if you left them in the YouTube comments or on Mastodon or wherever you asked me this stuff. But in case I haven't answered you, I want to answer it on camera, not just for the one person that asked me, but again, sometimes multiple people ask me. So in a few of my videos recently, when I talk about digital rights and digital privacy, I mentioned supporting organizations, and I always bring up these two organizations, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF, and the Free Software Foundation, the FSF. And I've had a few people ask me, hey, which one should I donate to? If I can only donate to one, which is the better organization to donate to? And they're both good. If you can only donate to one, go with whichever one seems best for you. They both do really, really good work. So don't feel like you're sliding one if you donate to the other, because both of them are out there fighting for your freedoms, your privacy, your rights. So that was a question I got because I forget which video it was the other day, but at the end of the video I said, please go donate to both the EFF and FSF. And I linked to both, and I had some people like, I got a few bucks, but I can only donate to one. Which one? Either one. I mean, seriously. Both of them are really good organizations and do good work. I wouldn't have told you guys to donate to them if I didn't really believe strongly in those organizations. So, all right, and one of the other things I wanted to discuss, since it's in the title of the video, one of the big topics in the last month for the channel, of course, has been LBRY. So I synced all my content to LBRY. A lot of you guys are also following me on LBRY. I'm getting actually quite a few people that just watch my stuff on LBRY. You guys are watching for my stuff to sync over on LBRY, and you're watching it over on that platform. A lot of you guys say you're loving LBRY as a platform. Now, some of you guys are critical of it as well. Some of you, it's not ready for prime time, which it's not. I mean, it's not full featured like YouTube. But I gotta say, spending a lot of time on LBRY myself too, I kind of like LBRY. I mean, it's not bad. The video quality, now there's no transcoding, so like I upload in 1080p 60 frames a second, so any video you watch, regardless of the device you watch it on, it's going to download it as 1080p 60 frames per second. It doesn't matter if it's on your mobile device. And some of you are like, man, why am I downloading this high resolution a video to watch it, on this? Why can't it just downscale it to 480p? It's that there's no transcoding. There's no server-side transcoding in any of this stuff. It doesn't do any of that. All it can do is serve the video as I upload it. So that is a downside, but the LBRY folks know that people complain about that, and they're trying to figure out a solution to that. But it's not going to be an easy problem to solve, but it's one they're working on. They're brainstorming it a bit, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do with that. Comments. There are comments on LBRY, which I think is a new feature that they just started in the last month, or not the last month because I've been there a month, but like the last 2 months or 3 months, like it just started. So you can comment on the videos. Close that out. Now, the one thing I don't like about LBRY as far as the comment system, I have no way to moderate the comments. So, I don't spend time moderating the YouTube comments. You guys know, I've told you guys, I would waste so much time if I just really hung out in the YouTube comments and read every YouTube comment and moderated the ones that were a little crazy. So unless it's something just ridiculous, I rarely moderate any of my YouTube comments. And I think I probably haven't banned more than 10 users in the 2 years or so that I've been running this YouTube channel. That's seriously how little time I spend worrying about the comments section on YouTube. But Also, YouTube, they have algorithms in place to pick up spam especially. So that is a big thing that saves me some time. I don't have to worry about the spammers, at least. YouTube, they pick that stuff up right away. I rarely come across a spam comment that made it through the spam filter on YouTube. But LBRY doesn't have anything like that. So spam in those comments is a big thing, and you can't get rid of it. You can't ban those. You can't delete those comments. You can't ban those users or block those users in any way. Because that's all this peer-to-peer technology, and of course, part of the peer-to-peer technology with LBRY is that nobody can, delete your videos, take down your videos. It's freedom, baby, right? Unfortunately, that goes for the content, the comments on the videos too. But that's not a good idea, because the comment section of my video really should be in my control, right? You're commenting basically on my video page. I should have some control on it. So, and the LBRY folks know that that's a problem too, and they're working on it, especially because right now with no control at all, the spammers are a little out of control on LBRY. I'm getting a lot of spam comments on my videos. Hey, like your video. I'm following you. Please follow me. And you can tell it's a bot message because he done posted the exact same message on every video on my channel plus every other channel online. Like the spam is just getting a little crazy in the comments, but the LBRY guys are working on that as far as the comments. By the way, speaking of spam comments, let's talk about spam comments on YouTube a little bit. I mentioned YouTube does a really good job. I don't spend much time at all, really, doing anything with my comments section on YouTube because YouTube catches that spam. But you guys, some of you guys have mentioned this before, you guys get triggered, you guys get caught up in the spam filters. Well, don't do anything dumb on YouTube. I can tell you right now. And so all you guys watching, do not ever post the exact same comment more than once on a YouTube video because I see it. You guys will have this, you have this great comment, like you completely disagree with something on my video, and you have this link to an article that refutes everything I said, and you post it about 10 times as a reply to various people. Well, when you do that, what do you think happens to all those posts, all those comments? YouTube immediately figures out you're a spammer and they delete everything you just posted. So don't be stupid. I'm just going to put it. If you post the same message more than once on a YouTube video, I promise you, YouTube's spam filter is going to just delete your comment. No one will ever see it. You are wasting your time. So, and then you go, well, where did all my content, all my comments go? Did DT delete them? DT never saw them because nobody ever saw them. So, now those kind of spam comments, I mean, it is spam, but that's not really spam. That's just some of you guys just being dumb, posting the same thing more than once. But I've been getting what I call legitimate spam a lot more in the last month too. I've been getting people leaving links, affiliate links in comments, and hey, buy this product, buy that product, and spamming it on several different videos of mine. I've been getting a lot more of that going around on YouTube. Again, luckily YouTube's pretty good at catching that stuff. But when I go and check out the spam comments that they filtered out, I'm seeing a lot more of those things popping up. So, rest in peace, spammers. Yeah. Well, YouTube, yeah, that's a billion-dollar company, right? I mean, Google behind YouTube. They've got plenty of stuff in place to catch all that stuff. But it's a fight, that you're constantly up against because the spammers are always trying different techniques. And it's going to be interesting as LBRY becomes more and more popular, how they keep up with this stuff, right? Yeah, are you able to hide comments on your videos? Hide comments, you mean like block a user from ever commenting again? If that's what you're asking, yes. Like if you left some crazy comment that I know YouTube would take great offense to, yeah, I could, of course, just delete your comment, but it's, you know, I just wanted to get rid of you altogether. Yeah, I can just hide your comments where anytime you comment on one of my videos, it never gets posted. That option has been around for a while on YouTube. Again, that's an option I've used very few times. For the most part, the people that post on my videos, you guys that are regular viewers of the channel, you know, most people are pretty respectful here. Even when you guys get into heated debates on this stuff, you keep it kind of civil. Every now and then, though, we get people that say something really crazy that, hey, we got to be careful with, because again, the channel, I mean, it's monetized with ads. You know, YouTube has to be careful what's on the video, but sometimes what you guys are posting in the comments as well. So it can't be anything just way off base. There have been a couple of times where somebody has really just gone overboard with like threats of violence or stuff, you know, against other people commenting, or, you know, just. But again, that stuff happens so rare that like I said, I never really spend much time in the YouTube comments. I don't moderate much of anything. Let's see. Was there anything else? That was a lot of the questions and comments I've been getting that I've been wanting to answer. One other one I do. I don't know why I didn't think of this one, but my most popular video I've done here in the last year or so, let me pull this up, is my Arch Linux installation guide for 2019. So I did that video 7 months ago. Gotten almost 200,000 views on that video. Really helped a lot of people install Arch Linux for the first time. Now, when I posted that video, you know, obviously it's a popular video. About 2 or 3 weeks after I posted that video, Arch Linux changed the install process. Now, I'm not saying they did that because I posted that video and everybody was going and installing Arch Linux because, you know, I made it easier for them to install Arch Linux. No. Arch Linux wouldn't do that. They wouldn't try to prevent all the noobs from installing Arch Linux, but they changed the install process. So now I get a dozen comments a day, every single day for the last 7 months. I'm not kidding. I get comments on that video, on Mastodon, email. Hey man, followed your Arch Linux installation guide. I reboot. All I get is a grub prompt. What's the problem? And I even have a pinned comment on that video. People are not reading it. Look, you have to install the Linux kernel now. Let me repeat. You have to install Linux now when you install Arch Linux. That's right. It doesn't come installed with Linux by default. You have to install Linux. So sudo pacman -S Linux. Install the kernel. Reboot. It'll work. I get a few comments every now and then about nano, which I used in that video. Hey man, you said nano/etsy/host or whatever configuration file. Nano's not even on the system. Yeah, they deleted nano from the pacstrap command too. Sudo pacman -S nano. Like, it's not, you're already installing other software. You know how to use pacman, hopefully by now. I mean, surely you read enough to know how to install a piece of software. Install nano or Vim. Vim's not there either. VI, I think, is on the system. Man pages are also not on the system. I don't think they installed the bash shell with the pacstrap command either. I could be wrong about that. They removed a lot of really basic stuff you think will be there. It's not there now, though. But the one that really messes everybody up is not having the Linux kernel. If you don't install the Linux kernel and you reboot the machine, yeah, you're not going to get anything except that grub prompt. So, and that has caused me a lot of heartache. I mean, that you would be surprised how much a video like this can cause you as far as grief when you have this many people that watch a video. And so many of them, not like everybody, most people know what the problem is. Oh, nano's not installed, sudo pacman, right? Or the Linux kernel's not installed. I need to install the kernel. But I mean, I get some some noobs. I mean, brand new to Linux users trying this. They have no idea about this stuff, and it's frustrating. So I've thought about just deleting the video. Right, but so many people have watched the video and gotten Arch installed. I hate to just delete it because it's doing some good stuff for some people. I get people commenting too. Hey man, I never thought I'd get through an Arch Linux install and watched your video. It was just fine. So, so I don't want to remove the video. I'm going to leave it up. But eventually, I probably just need to. I mean, it's already 2020. I should do an Arch Linux installation guide for 2020. But I was trying to give, a little bit of time in between. It was only 7 months ago I did that video. So I'll wait another month or two, and then I may do an updated one. So I quit getting so many comments every single day about how to install Arch Linux. Do you sometimes watch your own videos to get a refresher on some subject? Sometimes. I have done that a couple of times. Like if it's on a subject that I normally don't cover, like I've done so many videos. I've done more than 600 videos. Some of the programs I've covered are not programs that I use normally. So I'll make a video 2 years ago on some piece of software that I haven't used since I made that video, but now I need to use it again for some reason. I'll go check my video. But most of the videos, that I covered software, I mean, most of this stuff's pretty straightforward. It's rare that I have to go back and watch a video, like my own video on something I've covered, but I've done it a couple of times. Or sometimes, I can't remember a specific flag on a program, some option on a program for a really specific thing, but I know I did it on a video one time, so I go and find that video. Yeah, so Evol says, DT, I followed the tutorial to install Arch, and I'm on this thing that says grub. I can't do anything. Is my computer broken? Yes. Yeah, format the drive and start over. Yeah, DT, what toolbar are you using? This toolbar, and so I am in Xmonad today, guys. The toolbar is Xmobar. It is a panel written in Haskell, designed for Xmonad. The Xmonad tiling window manager. You could use Xmobar, I guess, with other window managers. It's not normally done because you'd have to install Haskell to run it. Unless you already have Haskell on the machine, why would you do that? So typically Xmobar is used specifically for Xmonad. But I've gotten Xmobar to work before, just playing around with it a little bit. I know I was able to get it to kind of work with Herbstluft. Didn't look real good, but it kind of worked with Herbstluft. Spectre WM, when I finally give that a try, I don't think it comes with a panel. I could be wrong about it. If it doesn't, though, I may try Xmobar with it, since I already have it on the system. Let's see. Yeah. That explains why I couldn't get into Arch when I installed it on my testing hard drive. Yeah. I installed the kernel. So, DT, are you friends with Luke Smith? I haven't talked to Luke much. I've corresponded with him a couple of times in email, not lately. Me and Luke did a collaboration one time. We did a collab on his channel, which was fun. That was right before he disappeared into the woods. What was that, last year? Like a week before, like he was going off the grid. Me and him, we did a collab, which was pretty fun. I should see if he'll do a collab on my channel sometime. Get Luke on the channel. But I don't know what his situation now as far as internet and things like that are. I don't know if he's still out in the woods building the log cabin, all that, or what. Yeah, Leviticus says, DT, Spectre WM has a panel. Oh, well, if it has a panel, I'm good with it. So, All right. Yeah, who needs a kernel when I have an open window? Yeah, that's true. With Qtile, it says config error when there's a config.config/Qtile. Well, it means there's a problem with your config. That's why it's giving you the... So if you have an error in your Python code, when you restart Qtile, it goes back to the default config, and in the panel, you will have that error in the panel that will say config error. It's telling you there's a problem with your config. So that's not a bug, that is a feature. Yeah, check your Python code though. Typically, what it is, if you edit something in your Python or your Qtile config and you restart the window manager and all of a sudden you get that config error, undo what you did. So, pro tip there, just undo what you did and then restart. If it goes away, then whatever it is you did, you know, hey, I got a problem. Check the punctuation, make sure you added the commas at the end of the lines you needed and didn't add a comma to any lines that didn't need one. That will throw you off. Make sure your spacing is correct. Yeah, Pepino says, hi from Brazil. Love your videos. Appreciate that. And thanks for joining us. Bob Grimes says, do a drunk Arch install like Chris Titus did. It would be hard to get that drunk with an Arch install because the Arch install is not that long. I mean, that Arch installation guide video that I referenced a minute ago is 48 minutes long, and that's with me talking and trying to explain stuff. If I really did an Arch install, like the base install, it's like a 20-minute process. I mean, unless you're just chugging, hard to get, unless you get drunk before you even start the video. That's a different story. Yeah, a drunk Gentoo install. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. You are right. You have to be drunk probably to install Gentoo anyway. Yeah, and Michael at Tux Digital, pro tip equals undo whatever you did. Yeah, you know, you're probably laughing at that, Michael, but so many people don't understand that. I mean, that's my secret to everything. When I'm hacking on something, playing with something, if, you know, I restart something and it's obviously broken, I just undo what I did. You know. The other trick is don't make massive changes to something. Like if you make a little change, like in your window manager, just for example, you're hacking on your window manager, you know, you make a minor change, restart the window manager right then just to see if that minor change, don't change half the config and then restart the window manager and then you realize it's broken. Then you got to figure out what line is the problem. Well, you're never going to figure it out. So, yeah, prophetic says, sup. What up, dog? Is that the way they do it? Yeah, dog. Yeah. You are right, to be fair, says Michael. He says, yeah, small changes. Make sure you have no way to tell what caused the issue. Yeah. And while we're on that subject, you people that run rolling release distributions, you know, when you wait 2 months to update your system and you have 500 packages update, and you reboot and the machine is hosed, how the heck are you going to know which package screwed up your system? You know, you're not. So update a little more frequently. You know, if all you have is 30 updates, it's a little easier to tell which one caused the problem, especially if one of those 30 packages is the kernel or the video driver. You know, you can kind of narrow down what the problem is, but when, you know, half the programs installed on your system need to update, yeah, good luck finding what the problem is. Yeah, do a Mac OS installation guide. I don't know anything about Mac OS. I've never run Mac OS, not the modern Mac OS. Last time I ran Macintosh computers was the mid-90s, and of course that was a completely different operating system back then. Not even remotely the same. But back in my college years, you know, in the early 90s, I had a computer lab that I went to all the time, and they ran Macintosh computers, did a lot of stuff on, you know, those Macintosh machines. But Yeah, so yeah, Tux Digital. I did an Arch update with 1,200 packages within 4 months. I call it you only live once updating. YOLO. I did that with a OpenSUSE Tumbleweed VM about a year ago. I'd been keeping this OpenSUSE Tumbleweed VM for a while, maybe a couple of years, and then for some reason, I just quit updating it. I forgot about it. I forgot I even had it. And then one day I decided I needed to update some of my VMs, and there was that OpenSUSE Tumbleweed VM. And I'm like, well, let me do a quick update. And it's 1,300 packages. And it's like, well, let me run it, reboot, and see if it works. It didn't. So reinstall. And when you see that many packages about to update, sometimes it's best just not even to bother updating. Just know you're going to reinstall that operating system at some point. Yeah, Aaron says, hey, DT, thanks for the Xmonad tutorials. I've been living in it for a couple weeks, and I love it. Xmonad is amazing. I agree. I've been thinking about doing some more Xmonad videos. Like I really did a deep dive in the last month or two in Qtile. You know, showing you guys, breaking down the config file for Qtile. Thought about doing the same thing for Xmonad as far as the next window manager, that I kind of, really cover the ins and outs of the config file. And some of those folks, you guys that have watched the Qtile videos, how to configure Qtile, your workspaces and panel and everything, the layouts, are like, hey man, those videos are kind of cool, but I don't use Qtile. I use i3 or BSPWM. It doesn't matter. Go watch those videos on Qtile. It doesn't matter if you use a different window manager, because honestly, the point of me making those kinds of videos, even if you don't use 99% of you guys don't run Qtile anyway, but you see the process of how you go read the documentation, figure out exactly how to edit the config file. That's the same process no matter what window manager you use. It's mainly about the process of how you go about attacking these problems, not necessarily me just feeding you the answer, right? Because you guys saw me. I went to the Qtile website, went to the documentation, read a little bit, entered something in the config, just some arbitrary examples, but that's all you do. A lot of people, I think, when they get into these things, they have this misconception that this stuff is harder than it is. Like when you kind of get in it and do it, make yourself do it, and you realize, you know what, this isn't rocket science, right? I promise you. If it was, I wouldn't be doing it. So, Bruno says, first time on your live. Thanks for joining us. I don't do too many live streams these days. I do the once a month live stream I do with my patrons. So if you're a subscriber to my Patreon, once a month I do a chat with my patrons. So I always do that every month. And I try to do at least one other live stream somewhere in the month, but not always. Most of my content's pre-recorded content, but I do like doing these live streams. They're fun. Yes, somebody had 1,800 packages on their system. That's not that many. I mean, it's a lot. It's not crazy though. Let me run NeoFetch just since we know I have it on the system, since I figured it out a second ago. See if I can zoom in here in Alacrity. With Pacman, I have 1,777 packages installed. I have 3 Flatpaks installed. I can tell you I have about 5 snaps installed. I have a few app images also lying around the system. And I have 1 or 2 programs in /opt. Some things I built from source that you typically throw in /opt. So now, to be fair, why do I have that many packages on my system? Well, if you were here at the beginning of the live stream, I mentioned I have like 8 or 9 window managers installed on my system. Most of those window managers are written in different programming languages. So Awesome is written in Lua, Xmonad's written in Haskell, Qtile's written in Python. Some of them are written in C or Rust or whatever these things are, I got all these programming libraries on the system that's taking up, and that's what's accounting for a lot of those packages. Does LBRY have live streaming? It does not. That would be cool if you could live stream on a LBRY. I don't know how that would work as far as, the peer-to-peer technology. But that is something that, I wish it did have. LBRY, though, you see the progress it's making. Just me being on it for a month, they are introducing new features all the time. Like, they're really working on the thing. So, it could, maybe in a year, maybe 2 years, it could be a viable alternative to YouTube for content creators. And I see so many more content creators on LBRY than they were a month ago. Maybe double the amount. That's not a joke. Like, LBRY is exploding as far as so many people are now syncing their content over there, telling their viewers to go over there. It's really becoming a big deal. Yeah, so Arch, OpenBox, and DT's theme. Yeah, so I actually don't have my GTK theme on my system. But let me show you guys what he's talking about. If I go to my GitLab page, I have a repository here called DT Dark Theme. And this was my old OpenBox theme. I don't think I have a screenshot of it. No, I don't. That's unfortunate. I should have took a screenshot of it. Anyway, some of my old configs there. But that was a really nice, really dark, almost black GTK2 theme, especially an OpenBox theme, because I was using OpenBox at the time. I may download that theme, though, and install it, because I really want to do the same kind of dark theme for Window Maker when I take a look at it. And I'm probably going to do a video on Window Maker maybe this week. If not this week, probably next week. Window Maker I'm going to do something on soon. I think that's going to be the next window manager I take a look at, and then I'll do Spectre WM after that. Yeah, why GitLab over GitHub? Microsoft bought GitHub. Do I need to explain? I'm just going to let that speak for itself, right? And I know somebody in the chat's going to be, well, nothing wrong with Microsoft. Yeah, they're great. Oh, that's right, Ali, Present Arms. And he used that theme for the his OpenBox PC Linux OS ISO he did about a year ago. Yeah, probably because GitHub is owned by Microsoft. Yeah. I actually got off of GitHub the day before or 2 days before it was announced that GitHub was purchased by Microsoft, because the press got a hold of the rumors that, that deal was in the works, that Microsoft was about to buy GitHub. And I didn't want to wait around to see if it was true. As soon as I read the rumor that it might happen, I migrated to GitHub that day. Yeah, did I see the memo? Microsoft hearts Linux. Yes. They heart Linux. They heart open source. They heart Git. Microsoft has a lot of hearts. To be fair to Microsoft, though, they are putting out some open source software. They do contribute to the Linux kernel. So we do have to give them some credit. It is not the same Microsoft from the 1980s and 1990s. Yeah. Not Bill Gates. It's not Steve Ballmer. Yeah, did I try Linux from scratch? No, I'm not a Linux from scratch kind of guy. I mean, I guess I could run through it in a VM, spend a couple of weeks, just for the educational experience of it, but it's not a distro that you could run. Like, there's no package manager or anything like that. It's not something, you're not going to install Linux from scratch and live in it. That's not what, it's more of an educational tool. How about giving credit to NVIDIA? Not sure who that was, but don't get me started on NVIDIA. But I echo Linus Torvalds' comments on NVIDIA from a few years back. NVIDIA really needs to help out the community as far as their open source drivers. Yeah, Michael says, people shouldn't start with Arch because Arch is meant for experienced users, so transitioning won't be ideal, in my opinion, but if you want to, feel free. Yeah, if you have not run any other Linux distribution, you may not want to start with Arch. Unless whatever operating system you were on before, like if you're on Windows or Mac and you actually spent some time in the shell on Mac, I mean, it has the bash shell in there. Like if you're kind of comfortable, if you were a serious power user on those, then it may be an option for you. But if all you've used is Windows, and the only thing you did on Windows was open up Internet Explorer and go to Facebook, yeah, don't try to install Arch right away. Install Ubuntu, spend 6 months on Ubuntu. Then, play around in a VM with Arch. If you can get it installed in a VM, you're good. Matter of fact, play around with a bunch of different distros and VMs, I never had a single issue with NVIDIA, but AMD is open source, so soon I will make the change. Yeah. Well, if you use the proprietary drivers with NVIDIA, they're great. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was a former NVIDIA user. Now I'm using AMD. The NVIDIA cards are better as far as a better bang for your buck, as far as the price and the performance with the proprietary drivers, though. Now, if you want to stick to open source, yes, AMD is your only option because the NVIDIA open source drivers, the Nouveau drivers, are horrible. I couldn't do what I do, for example, this YouTube channel, using the Nouveau drivers. It's not possible. You couldn't game, especially. Like if you did any kind of gaming, you're not going to use the Nouveau drivers. Yeah, the Ubuntu is the devil in disguise. I actually quite like Ubuntu. Never had a problem with it. Installed it on so many machines over the years. Run it a lot on servers. I've never understood the problem people have running Ubuntu. Of course, I'm not a normal Linux user. Like the criticisms a lot of folks have about Ubuntu wouldn't apply to me. Like, I don't like their version of the GNOME desktop environment. Well, I wouldn't use GNOME anyway. I'd rip all that stuff out, or I'd start with Ubuntu server and install my own window manager on it. So, I don't care about that stuff. But the under the hood stuff people complain about, like PPAs and snaps. Okay, you don't have to use them. Like, you don't like PPAs, don't use them. You don't like snaps, don't use them. You should never complain about something that you're not even being forced to use. And you're not being forced to use Ubuntu, the distribution. If you don't like Ubuntu for whatever reason, you don't have to use it. But why complain about it all the time, some people? It's just strange. It's like, it reminds me of the video I did a while back. Of course, I did the all the hate for Ubuntu video about a week ago, 4 days ago or so. I'm sure that's where some of that is coming from. But I did a video a while back. And I know it upset some people. Well, the Ubuntu video I did upset some people. But I did a video, System D haters getting their panties in a twist. System D hate, is it just mob mentality? And it was the same thing, all you guys have all these reasons why System D is garbage. Okay, if you don't like System D, don't use it. Like, I don't really care either way. It's not like I have a dog in that fight. I don't care if System D is on the distro I'm running, or sysv, or OpenRC, or run it. It doesn't matter, right? But some of you guys are so invested in, the trashing of System D or the trashing of Ubuntu or whatever it is. It's weird, and I'm trying to help you guys because that's not healthy. Like, if you are so worked up about this stuff, I mean, because some of you guys have this real anger in you. I can see it when we talk about these things. And I'm telling you, this is not healthy. You should never be angry about stuff that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't even affect you. You're not forced to use this stuff. You don't like the distro you're on, change it, right? But again, I'm a different kind of Linux user. I'm not married to any of this stuff. I like Arco Linux. Was running Manjaro. I like Arch-based distros, but if Arch disappeared tomorrow, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. I would just move on to whatever it is I decide to move on to, and I'd be okay, right? That's just... Yeah, we should concentrate on bringing Linux forward, not bashing different distros. Yeah, but the thing with the why I made the video about the Ubuntu hate is people don't bash different distros. People typically just bash Ubuntu, right? Which I made that point in that video. I never see people make these threads about how bad, whatever small Linux, how bad Void Linux is, how bad Geeks OS is, or how bad Parabola is. I've never seen that. And then people jump in the thread and, oh yeah, it's terrible. Let me tell you this and that. You don't see that, but see it all the time with Ubuntu. Yeah. Michael says, DT, I'm about to distro hop for the first time in like 5 years. That's interesting, Michael. I almost hopped about a week ago. I actually got out a USB stick and formatted it. And I thought better of it. I was like, man, I got everything kind of working for me. But man, I want to try something different. Like, I've got that urge too. And I don't know what I want to go to either. And you're asking for suggestions? I don't know. So what I've been doing, the last 8 or 9 months has been Arco Linux. And I got to tell you, I've really enjoyed Arco Linux. What would I move to if I went not an Arch base? I was strongly considering Void Linux, just because I think they were doing some interesting things. It's not your typical Linux distribution. They're really out there pushing some different kind of ideas. I really wanted to go back to my Debian roots, maybe doing Debian unstable, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. Been there, done that, right? Thought about Solus, but the repositories are just so bad, I can't do Solus. Oh, thanks for the super chat. Will you do anything with Ansible or Puppet? Probably not. Who knows? I never rule anything out, but I don't know anything about Ansible. Never used it. So for those of you new to the channel too, I actually do not work as a sysadmin, or I don't work in the IT field. I'm strictly a desktop Linux user. I don't work with computers at all. Those of you who've been following the channel for a while know I actually work in retail. So Ansible is not something I've ever played with. One other thing, getting back to some of the questions in the last month or so on the channel, been getting a lot more questions regarding Windows, technology related to Windows, like Active Directory, things like that. Samba shares. You know, like I haven't used Windows in so long, and Windows content I'm never going to make. And I'm not interested, for the most part, in proprietary software. Not something I typically cover on the channel, proprietary software of any kind, except the occasional game. Like if I do a gaming stream, you know, oftentimes we have to use some proprietary software for that. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I know we've got a lot of new folks on the channel, you know, in the last month or two. And I get those kinds of questions. I just wanted to throw that out there, you know. I get people sometimes emailing me help with their Windows problems or whatever. Like, dude, don't know anything. Zero knowledge about Windows. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to kill the stream here in a few more minutes. You got anything else you want to ask in the chat? Go ahead and get it in. That way it's recorded for all of time here on YouTube. All right. Yeah, Michael, that's an interesting question there, because I have thought about this. Actually, I've thought about this for a long time because it's different now. So Tux Digital is asking, how do you feel about people who make Linux content with Windows or Mac, because some of them use Macs, to make it or edit it? 10 years ago, I wouldn't hold it against anybody. You almost had to do that. It was just, we weren't there yet as far as audio editing, video editing, things like that. Now, if somebody is making 100% Linux-oriented content, and they're using Windows or Mac to make that content, yeah, I would have a problem with that. I gotta say, I wouldn't like it, and because you don't have to now. I don't think you do. I would argue that you don't. I mean, we've got so much good free and open source software now as far as content creation, video content creation. And also, if you want to use it, there are some really good proprietary programs for this kind of stuff available on Linux now. So, like some of the free and open source stuff that I use for my channel, you guys know I record with OBS. I edit video with Kdenlive. I edit my audio with Audacity if I need it. I do all the artwork for the channel in GIMP. Do everything with free and open source software, 100%. Now, I know there are some proprietary solutions. If you didn't want to use Kdenlive for a video editor, for example, yes, I know DaVinci Resolve is out there, and I'm sure it's great. Lightworks is out there. I'm sure it's great. If you didn't want to do Audacity for a DAW, you needed something a little more substantial. Reaper, like, it's proprietary, but we have Reaper also available on Linux. Like, I get that there's proprietary solutions. If you want to use that, that's fine. But I see no reason to use Windows, the operating system Windows, to run that stuff, or Mac. So, yeah, Kdenlive, cough, no thanks. I really like Kdenlive. And, you know, Kdenlive has its little quirks. Kdenlive, it gets updated frequently. If you run a rolling release distribution, which is my case, it gets updated frequently, and there are some versions of it I'll run for a month or two, never have a crash. And I do a lot of videos, a lot of video editing. I'm making a video practically every day. Won't have a crash for like 2 months. And I'm not kidding, like rock solid stable. Then sometimes they will put out a new release and it'll be a little crashy, right? But typically you can typically there's a pattern to it. Like you can figure out what it is you're doing to cause that crash. And if you figure that out, stop doing that. But yeah, I get it. Kdenlive is not the most stable. But it's not as bad as people make it out to be. Of course, it might depend on the version, the operating system you're on, the hardware you're running. For me, it's been great though. And once you know how to do everything everything you need to do in Kdenlive, it's hard to use something else. It's like anything else. Change is hard. I mean, once you really know Kdenlive, why switch to something else? Yeah, do I still use Alacrity? I am still using Alacrity for my terminal emulator. Still loving it. It just works. If I brought up a terminal here, this is Alacrity. Still using Alacrity. Some people have also asked about BRoot. Still have BRoot on the system. Yeah, so Ali, Present Arms, says, I've had DaVinci running on PC Linux OS before now. Wasn't that hard? Yeah. I think it depends on the video card you're running, because I think DaVinci works with NVIDIA, but it doesn't work with AMD, or maybe I got them mixed up. It's one or the other. I mean, there are proprietary solutions out there for you to try. I mean, if you want to try out DaVinci or want to try out Lightworks, give them a try. You know, me personally, I wouldn't use them because I try to stick to free and open source software. But I understand other people. You make your own choices, and if you want to use it, try it out, and if it's working for you, use it. Have I ever created a video about creating an AUR package? I'm assuming you're asking. I have actually. I've got it written down. I've got a list of things that I've been meaning to make a video about. Like, it's a long list, video ideas. And it's on the list. Yes, I've been meaning to get to that topic. I think it would be interesting creating an AUR package and, making a video about it. Maybe doing something about creating a snap pack. That could be interesting. I don't know really anything about creating a snap package, but maybe creating an app image. Now that would be cool. Might do all 3 videos. I'll write all 3 down. I don't know when we'll get to them. It's got so many things I want to cover at some point. So many videos, so little time. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Well, give it just another minute or two, and then we'll shut it down. Why Arco and not Arch? Because I wanted to try Arco. I do a lot with window managers, tiling window managers especially, and Arco has about 20 different ISOs with different window managers. And some of those, I'm not going to say that Eric Dubois and the Arco team made those just for me, but I doubt they would have made a Qtile version had my YouTube channel never existed. I'm just going to throw that out there. Most people would have never heard of the Qtile window manager until I made those videos, and they put out a Qtile edition. I mean, I gotta try it out. Why wouldn't I? I mean, I think it would be irresponsible of me not to give that a try. The Xmonad edition. I mean, I don't know of any other Linux distribution that's ever made Xmonad edition of their distribution. So when they came out with that, I had to give it a try, As far as the differences between Arco and Arch, Arco is basically just Arch, 100% Arch. They have their own repositories. Well, they add some of their own repositories, but it's just links to some shell scripts, for building the system if you want to, do like the Arco Linux D install. But for the most part, it's 100% Arch anyway. It's just got some pre-configured window managers where Arch, you would get the vanilla window manager, right? For somebody like me, it doesn't matter because I've got my own configs for every window manager I've ever used. So it doesn't matter for me, but for purposes of this channel, I want to check out like Arco Linux BSPWM and use their configs. I want to see what they are doing for a week or two, and then I put my own configs on it. Yeah. Yeah, what happened to the baby bottle? That's right behind me. See. Yeah, Rocco, Big Daddy Linux is in the chat. Rocco, you're late. We were just about to head off here in a second. Yeah, Learn Linux says he's about to head off. Thanks for the stream. Bye. All right. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, just relaxing here. Figured I'd get a live stream in. I haven't done one in a while. One of these kinds of live streams where I interact with the YouTube chat. Now, I don't do these that often anymore. People ask for them all the time. I get constant questions on Mastodon and email. Hey man, when are you going to do another live stream? I never have a good answer for it. Partly because I never plan anything. I never know when I'm going to have some free time. And then if I have that free time, am I really going to commit? I'm going to be right there at this time to do that live stream, so I rarely plan far in advance these things. Hey DT, sorry for starting trouble in your comments section. What did you do this time? We haven't had any trouble today. It's been kind of civil today. I appreciate all you guys hanging out today. Still got a couple hundred people hanging out here in the chat. A bit of an impromptu live stream. I didn't do much for this live stream. For those of you showing up late, if you want to rewatch it, obviously today was President's Day here in the U.S., a holiday. Mainly what I covered today is I covered some questions and comments that I've been getting on the channel, addressed some support kind of questions, covered some stuff about transparency in the terminal, C matrix, my Arch installation guide that everybody has a problem with now since Arch changed the install process. Covered some other stuff. We talked a little bit about LBRY. And, talked a little bit about YouTube versus LBRY, things like that. Other than that, again, just kind of an impromptu stream. So I'm not sure how I want to end the stream, though. This is why I don't do live streams. Like, how do we end it? Do I pull out the trombone? Do I pull out the recorder? I mean, we should do a little something. Like I said, it looks like we crossed the 50K subscriber mark sometime last night. We should play something celebratory. So, give me an instrument in the YouTube chat. Now, I don't have every instrument known to man, so don't give me just any instrument. So, I have no idea how instrumental recording actually would sound here on the RE27. Sounded great on the baby bottle, but I don't have the baby bottle plugged in. Oh, and obviously, without me monitoring, I have no idea if this will be loud or not. And we're going to go with a soprano recorder, not an alto. So. All right. I have no idea how that might have sounded. Again, I wasn't monitoring the volume. So, and I don't have any sheet music here. I actually forgot some parts of that particular piece I was trying to play. Yeah, nice remix. Yeah, I should have done the free software song. Why didn't I think of that? That's the only way. That's the only way to do this, though. Let me go ahead and Google free software song PDF. It's right here at gnu.org. Now, everybody, hoarders can get piles of money. That is true. Hackers, that is true. Am I the only one singing? What's wrong with you guys? Right? Oh, I'm going to get demonetized for being cringe. Oh, copyright strike incoming. Yeah. Yeah, that song is so cringe. Yeah, it probably is with just me singing by myself. It sounded better when I did it with Richard. Yeah, for those of you that don't remember from a few months back, yeah, Google the free software song duet on my channel. You'll see me singing with Richard. Yeah, that song is always cringe. Not necessarily. There are a few different versions of that song floating around. I've seen a couple of like upbeat rock tempo kind of version, like electric guitar versions of the song that didn't sound horrible. But I guess it depends. Musical tastes vary. Yes. Hey, DT, enjoyed that video the other day on the hate for Ubuntu. You highlighted my comment on it. Yeah. Well, thanks for commenting on the video. Yeah, there was a metal version from John O. Bacon. I remember that one too. Yeah. Yeah, that one was good too. The worst version of it is there is a video of RMS. I forget if he's at some kind of conference. Maybe he's at a university, and it's some weird musical production they're doing on stage. And they're trying to perform it in the original 7/8 tempo, which is tough, Like if you're not a musician, this time signature 7/8, that's not a normal time signature. I don't want to get too deep in how music works, but typically you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Except this one, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. Yeah, that's right. It's not even amounts of beats to each beat. That third beat in the measure is actually 3 times. Well, actually, the way he's got it, now that I'm looking at it, the long beat is actually the first one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Join us now and share the software. You'll be free. Right? All right, we're way off topic now. Nothing about Linux. Well, I guess we're talking about GNU/Linux since we're talking about the free software song. I guess it kind of counts. Do you play 2 recorders at the same time? Not something I typically try. I don't have two recorders pitched in the same pitch, but I do have an alto and a tenor. But you can't play them because I gotta have my fingers, on both. I could probably come up with something really, really simple, but obviously it couldn't be anything too complicated. Yeah, great. Now with the nostrils, yeah. If I ever can get out my trombone, and if I felt like it wouldn't clip on the microphone, if I had it set up to do on a live stream, there is this really interesting technique. It's pretty an advanced technique on the trombone that I'm pretty good at, called multiphonics. What it is you play the trombone by buzzing. Obviously, the buzz of your lips creates the sound. But then you can also sing, create a pitch singing through the instrument as well. So I can play one note and sing a different note to create chords. It's called multiphonics. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, Big Pod says, "Hey DT, how you doing, Big Pod? Good to see you." Yeah, the melody for that free software song is based on a Bulgarian folk song. That's true, Big Pod. And it's also true, Michael says, I think it's based on a fever dream. Now, that's the lyrics. That's what they're based on. Let me save that PDF file just in case I ever need it again. It is a really nice tune. Yeah, what about using your toes to play the recorder or play the trombone? Either way, it's strange why I would need my toes. You play the didgeridoo. Now that sounds very cool. I've always wanted a didgeridoo. I think it's a really neat sounding instrument. For those that are not familiar, the didgeridoo is the Australian Aboriginal instrument. Like a long hollowed out piece of wood. Like the termites have ate up this piece of wood and they're, making these weird sounds to it. But it's a really interesting instrument. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and shut down the stream. I want to thank all you guys for hanging out here. I know the stream was kind of all over the place. We talked a lot about some Linux topics and some not so Linuxy topics. At least you guys got to hear a little bit of the recorder. I'm actually going to play this back later and see what the recorder sounded like through this mic. I actually haven't done any instrumentals through this mic. I suspect they would sound better on the Blue Baby bottle, though. Being that this is a dynamic mic, that's a condenser mic. Plus, this seems to be a little more bassy than the Baby bottle. Yeah, Logo says the sound was decent. Oh, I'll check it out, though. Now, what is the Star Trek instrument called? If you're talking about the original Star Trek series from the 60s, a theremin. Basically, the movement of your hands through this, electrical device creates the sound waves. It's a really interesting instrument to, would be very difficult to play because it's not a real instrument, it's a real instrument, but like to play it in tune would be a big challenge. But it's got that really distinct sound. The type of microphone, this microphone I've had for a few days here is, I'm sorry, I'm getting messages on my phone. I know that's unprofessional. I should have turned it off. This is an Electro Voice RE27ND. All right. Yeah, Tommy Dorsey was a great big band trombonist. I love Tommy Dorsey. Matter of fact, I can play a little Tommy Dorsey one day. Well, I'd have to get into pretty good playing shape to play some Tommy Dorsey. But when I get back into shape on the trombone a little bit, yeah, well, I might play a little Tommy Dorsey. Yeah, the Beach Boys used it in Good Vibrations. That's correct, yeah. Yeah, put your hand on a microwave transformer. It's the same effect as the theremin. Don't do that. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out. I want to thank all you guys still here, and it's still about 160 of you guys. If you haven't, thumbs it up. Give me a thumbs up on the stream or thumbs down. They all count. It's all good for the algorithms. Of course, after the stream posts later, you guys want to comment, I may check out the comments for a little while today. I usually try to keep up with the comments on my videos for about a day or so afterwards. And I do need to thank a few people, of course. Before we leave, I need to thank these guys, all the patrons of the channel. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for still being here. It was great interacting with you guys in the chat. Good questions, good comments. All right, guys. Peace.